Welcome back to Backroom Talk. This season, we're bringing you behind-the-scenes conversations with awesome coaches who are shaping the future of fitness. I'm your host, Kandace Dickson, CMO of OPEX and CoachRx. In this episode, I sit down with Vidor Gupta as he shares his journey from curious basketball player to seasoned OPEX coach. Vidor dives into his early pursuit of physical autonomy and how it's shaped his coaching philosophy. He shares how he transitioned from group fitness to building deep individual client relationships that span years. He walks us through his evolution from focusing on perfect program design to genuine human connection and communication. What really shines through is his commitment to understanding clients' entire lives, not just their fitness goals, and how the OPEX principles of teach, learn, move, create guides both personal growth and his coaching practice. Whether you're just getting started or a seasoned coach, this episode is packed with actionable insights. All right, let's jump into my chat with Vidor. You're good. Yeah, hello.
How are you doing?
How are you?
I'm good.
Is it evening for you?
It's late. It's 10:30 p.m. India time.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would have adjusted the schedule for you to go earlier.
It's okay. I wasn't sure because usually when I used to attend CCP calls, they used to start pretty late for me.
Well, yes,
So
these are casual. I put up open time slots, but I told everyone, just message me if you want a different time and I'll make it work for you. I'm so sorry. Are you
if
going to
we
be
do
awake?
this, it's okay for a bit. If we're gonna do this again, I'll keep that in mind though.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm good.
Well, how was
Yeah.
your day? What did you do?
Today was a normal work day. Yeah, just early morning. I got a dog, so 6-ish in the morning I go for a walk, take her for about an hour, come back, coffee with my wife, and I have a couple of calls in the morning with my clients. Then afternoons I usually do some program design. Today was my day off from the gym, but otherwise that's also the time I would end up going either to play like a sport or something, or I'll end up going to the gym. So yeah, it's just easy day overall. And apart from that, I was
Amazing.
just kind of looking forward to our call, just meeting you.
Wonderful. Me as well. So these conversations are very casual, and I want to just give people a chance to get to know how awesome you are and all the things that you have going on. So let's start from the beginning, because actually I don't think I have heard. I've read things, but I have not heard the story from you. With what got you first to love fitness and take on fitness as you're on your own, and then how did that evolve into you becoming a coach?
Yeah, that's do you want just for context, I do tend to get carried away, and I've had like conversations with James which have lasted hours after what we had originally planned. So do you want the short one, or do you want how long or short do you want the answers to be?
Well, we're scheduled today for about a 45-minute episode, so maybe we go short, but I'll ask you questions if we want to go deeper.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Self-improvement. What got me into fitness? I think like just exploring physical potential, like just physical challenges. And very early on, uh, I got exposed to uh, playing baby basketball in school, and I was hooked. So I was showing up very early, 5 a.m. I'm talking about like when I was in the eighth grade, and yeah, just shooting practice. And I remember when I first started getting there, it wasn't I wasn't really good, but I kind of kept showing up, showing up, showing up till I got better. And uh, that's kind of when I started going deeper down the rabbit hole of exploring how to improve my potential, both. And at that point in time, it was very clear the objective was to improve my sport. But a couple of years later, a few years down the line, I kind of moved out of the sport, and something was still missing. So I went into fitness full time in terms of exploring it for myself. This was around when I was 18 or so. And there was no really, there was not any looking back, because every time I left it, and there were phases, uh, just life, caught up like assignments and things like that, were always wanted to go back. And the idea was just always really simple. Uh, it was just for myself, and it helped me become a better person. So just explore my potential. What got me into coaching fitness was the idea of essentially uh, sharing that with other people. So I like to teach, and I was always asking questions, always looking for answers. So when I was exploring this essentially, and I was doing it for myself across maybe different spaces, so different sports. Originally, early days it was basketball. 2011, I was still young, but CrossFit, it was still new in India at that point of time. And I had good role models around me. So while other people my age were essentially, and I didn't want to kind of spend time with people outside as well, but while other people were essentially pursuing other things, I wanted all my time to go towards, getting better at the sport of fitness, essentially, and just for my own self, essentially. I didn't even want to be like a competitive athlete or anything. It was just to be how to do the thing, and do it better. So that was pretty much it. That was my entry point into it. But I came from and I think I was a product of my time. And I've had long conversations with James about this. But uh, if I think about it, like everybody around me we were all picking very conventional careers, essentially. So you have lawyers, you have med students, doctors, people working in tech, people working in business. And I also went to, at university level, I also studied business studies. Uh, but I was pretty clear 2 years into working that this was not really what aligned with my, deepest values or principle. It was almost kind of intrinsic, essentially. And that that was a good segue for me to kind of go into um coaching fitness part-time. And at that point in time, it was in the format of CrossFit, the bright, shiny object in front of me. It was very empowering. And I actually kind of like, that was the reason I found James also. You know, that was the reason. That's how I ended up finding OPT and OPEX eventually, a couple of years down the line. But it was very clear. The idea was to take something essentially that means that's essential, that aligns with who I am as a human being, which is overcoming physical challenges, and then being able to share that with other people and improve, using that to improve their, let people essentially experience their best life, and that was pretty much it. And uh there's not been much looking back since then. So I think many times it almost feels accidental, but then when I wake up it also feels like, oh, it was meant to be, something. It was kind of like how it feels like, oh, the stars aligned. And one could argue that we're all a product of the time that we're born in. So it was, oh, I was born in this time, this era. So fitness coaching is a thing, and I don't know if it'll be a thing in the future. Like I'm talking like 50 years down the line, or if it was a thing about 60 years back. But yeah, this is the life, and it means something. So that was pretty much it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So when you were coaching part-time in the CrossFit space, what were some of the like early struggles that you experienced just
Yeah.
getting into not only just working with others and leading a group, but also thinking about this career change?
Yeah. That's a very interesting one, actually. My first few days, uh, the first time I ever coached a class, even though it was CrossFit class, that was it. It was meant to be. And my stomach was churning, essentially. Uh, but I knew like this is the place, I get to share knowledge. I get to learn and then uh, essentially share that knowledge ahead. Uh, but the challenges, so early on, when you're kind of in the first few years of your career, and for me, for all practical purposes, I would say that it was kind of like it was a career shift, essentially, and it was a bit of uh, bit of an outlier move because at least people in my direct ecosystem were not all fitness coaches or fitness professionals at the time. But I did have a few inspiring people around me. Uh, that kind of allowed me to transition into it. So mm, it was the idea of it being a struggle didn't cross my mind, right? But few years into it, it became very clear that the affiliates or the group-based model that we were working on, uh, I wasn't able to solve deeper level problems there, which I wanted to, because I was going down and that kind of like my goal, and I went back with this, philosophy. It kind of aligned like the stars aligned. Like I say this often, was always discovering physical autonomy, personal autonomy in fitness, and because it was always about being self-sufficient. It was about, oh, how can I be self-sufficient in the realm of fitness for myself, and I wanted others also to experience it. But I felt after a few years in the group model, and it was great. It taught me so much: how to teach movements, how to cue them, how to run a session, how to run a tight ship, essentially, time management. It's like a presentation every day, right? For all purposes, and then like get putting your best foot forward, and then learning. But what it didn't allow me to do was go down the rabbit hole of the individual, essentially. So there was that element, which was just out of my own curiosity. That was the element of, let's call it like scale, business, and profitability, which was going beyond earning maybe an hourly wage at that point in time. That was a big part of it. But I think these were the two big ones. I wanted to solve deeper problems, and that kind of what gravitated led me to find and discover OPEX as well. Because in my own journey in fitness, in my early days, I'm talking about post CrossFit, I wanted to get better. And I think at that point in time, Mike Lee and James Fitzgerald had written a program called Functional Bodybuilding. And Marcus Filly was, Mike Lee's client at the time. He was his CrossFit athlete. That's kind of how I explored, uh, what functional bodybuilding is all about. And James had written a program out, and I downloaded this PDF from OPT's blog or something. I found an email, and I followed it like for a good month. And it said, concepts which were really simple, but they felt revolutionary. And I was like, oh, like this is what I wanted. Like this is one way to teach fitness. Like something as simple as, are you chewing your food? Are you walking in the sun? Why is this? Why is it not talked about enough? It's so simple, yet it's so powerful. And I think that was it. So it wasn't the fact that like there were obviously like financial struggles in the group-based model, and a lot of businesses in front of me, businesses that I was fond of in the retail space, in the micro gym fitness community that closed down. I saw those challenges, but it was more about the fact that, oh, like, you can solve deeper level problems. You can connect with human beings at a deeper level, and you can really like kind of nudge them in the right direction of helping them explore what fitness is to them. Uh, and that was the transition essentially. So those are the challenges. I don't know if that answers it, but those were the
No,
challenges and
it's
those
super
were the answers.
interesting. When you were on a personal journey for seeking autonomy, and maybe I might have you elaborate on what that really means, just in case listeners don't quite understand. I think most of our OPEX audience definitely understands, but in case someone else does listen, um, what were the skills that led you to either desire that chase of autonomy or acquire it? And do you find when you're working with clients that that is already a mindset that they possess when you meet them? Or are you working with them in such a way that you trigger that desire for them to have ownership and
Yeah,
accountability, autonomy?
yeah. I think that's for the sake of the conversation, let's break it down. My own personal autonomy came from having to look for answers very early on in and outside the classroom. I was just a curious human being. And I always say this that the traditional classroom system didn't really fit my learning patterns. my brain worked a little differently. Maybe at the time it felt like a bit of a struggle, but now I think maybe it was a gift because I learned to ask a lot of questions. That was one big part towards, seeking physical autonomy. And it was very simple, very early on when I moved into fitness, just doing it for myself. The goal was very clear to me that I want to learn what it feels like to be able to look after myself the rest of my life. I wanted answers to that. I didn't know what that meant at the time, but I just did know that, oh, like, those are questions that came to me that, hey, like, what does it mean to be capable? And like you've had your own, and I follow your journey, like you've had your own uh, journey in like bodybuilding and what that meant. I had my own around, oh, like what does it mean to be a capable human being and how do I do it? Like, how do I get to be a fit person, a fit, healthy, capable human being for the rest of my life? And what does that mean? How do I do it? So at the time I used to think, oh, is it like gymnastics or is it calisthenics? And the answers were very simple. It was a more straightforward way of thinking because, oh, you don't need any equipment. You can do it anywhere. And, you don't need to rely on any additional piece of paraphernalia to essentially get your dose of fitness. So maybe it's that, maybe it's running. But the deeper question was always around, oh, like, how can I be fit for the rest of my life and have the tools to kind of keep exploring that? So that was
Did you
mine.
have, sorry, one clarifying question. Did you have people in your life growing up that fell ill or weren't physically capable or healthy or mentally didn't have the mental acuity to achieve what they wanted? What do you think sparked that desire for you to really want to be able to have control over that?
Yeah. I think like uh, my own journey with fitness is essentially because my early years, uh, I always felt like an active human being, but I didn't have the best. Maybe like I would call it I didn't have the best understanding of fitness essentially and of nutrition, and that led to me not being able to do a few things that I wanted to do. So I'm talking like very early, like sixth or seventh grade, and this is kind of what pushed me into the sport of playing basketball at the time. And then when I knew that hey, I want to play the sport, so I kind of started finding answers for myself. So that kind of led me to that journey. A simple route. Was I on the road to childhood obesity? Probably not. Probably not. But was I capable compared to other athletes around me? I wasn't. Uh, so then I had to kind of work on building that skill set for myself because maybe at the time I wasn't quite aligned with my genetic potential of what I could have achieved physically. So that was that was the start of the journey. Yeah, it started early on, and it was just as simple as uh, how do I get to touch the backboard on a basketball rim? How do I get to touch the rim? How do I shoot better jump shots? How do I shoot fadeaways? And then, how do I have enough strength in my legs and my arms to shoot a three-pointer and not get tired when I'm playing defensive positions and things like that? And then it became about, oh, can I do pull-ups? And that was kind of the starting point as a teenage kid. And from there, there's really no looking back. So there were ups and downs, and that was pretty much it, though. So it wasn't illness per se around me, but it was my own journey around, oh, how can I explore my own potential with it? Did I have people around me uh, that fell ill? Not at that point of time. But I also had the privilege of, uh, seeing people outdoors very early on in my life because a part of my family was from the hills, from the Himalayas. And that meant every summer that I was with at my grandparents' place, which was by default every summer for about 2 months, I was out in the mountains, and we were walking, hiking, exploring, and that came very natural to me. Just being outdoors, being in nature, and there was some degree of harmony there, essentially. So I think it was those things. It was like a combined experience of those things that led me to asking questions. For my clients, coming back to your original question, I think I've come to accept with time that autonomy means different things to different people, and it's like varying degrees of it. So does that mean uh, I start them off saying that, hey, like in 5 years or 3 years or 10 years or whatever, n number of years, I'm going to fire you as a client? Probably not. But it just means that, hey, you know, if you're someone who doubts your capability and intellect to essentially get up in the morning and do like 5 things or 10 things for your health right now, I want you to be in a place where even if I'm not there around you at that point of time, you are able to do the things or you know what needs to be done for yourself. So that's a simple question. And for a 60, 70-year-old, it's different. And then for a 18-year-old, it might look different. And uh, it's it's a it's a beautiful concept, like looking for autonomy for different people. And it's not really about me. I think uh, with time, I've just kind of realized that it's less about, oh, I want you to have autonomy. It's more about helping them figure out, what it means to be independent for them. So yeah, does
When
that answer your question?
Yeah, for sure. Clients that are coming to you now versus when you first started, or any trend that has happened in terms of the initial reason they reach out or their initial goals that they come to you with. Has there
Yeah,
been any change or evolution in that over the years? And if so, what have you noticed?
very interesting changes. I think I've had people, different spaces, different walks of their life essentially work with me. Uh, Maybe they came to me because they were like pain, they had physical limitations, and they're in very different places right now. I've had people who've come with maybe herniated disc, limitations, like mental blocks around what they can and cannot do. And they might be exploring physical endeavors outside, like running, you know, half marathons or, uh, I have a client of mine, it's been mentioned to her, she came to me, she had like back issues, but she's probably going to be she's done her amateur Muay Thai fight recently. So it's a whole spectrum, right? People started at different places. There have also been people who uh, essentially started with, let's call it like an overzealous approach to fitness, and they found a more balanced approach to fitness, like people who maybe went to the gym 5 or 6 times a day, and they've become very comfortable with being with themselves. They don't need to do fitness all the time. I think finding the spectrum of balance is very different for different people. So I think the powerful things have been that you can get a really potent dose of fitness in 3 to 4 times a week of training as well. And you can eat real food, sleep every day, get good quality sleep, move outside, train 3 to 4 times, and your life can change. And there are also people who felt that, oh, like, will I ever be able to do that thing again? And they're like well on their way to essentially doing much more, you know. So it's been a journey, and sometimes I feel like I'm seeing it as a third person. Okay? I'm just sitting there and I'm observing it. I don't know what the words for it are. So that's an experience essentially to see it. Oh, this is happening, I don't know how we got here, but we did get here. And we're here and it's happening. So it's a bit of a
Amazing.
pinch me moment. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. When it comes to the coaching process, especially when you first start with someone, what are the things that really light you up or that you feel are your creative zone of genius? Is it in the kind of initial um, intake, onboarding, assessment kind of part of the process, or is it the laying out of the long-term plan and the design piece? Is it really in the thick of the coaching? Or I guess, yeah, where's your heart the most lit up about?
It's very interesting. I think it's changed with time. So, uh, if you ask me this question in 2020, it was the design, you know. And I think that's the journey of refinement for maybe younger coaches too. It's just a journey transitioning. So if 2019, 2020, if you ask me, hey, like, what lights you up? I'd be like, oh, like program design, exercise selection maybe, and like what tempos are we using, and like what are going to be the periodization models, and what are the progressions we're going to use for this individual, and that's going to be cool. But now, if you ask me, is maybe the initial consult and then the conversations, ongoing conversations. Because I have come to realize with time that uh, understanding people's lives and understanding them better uh, helps them follow or like adhere to programs a lot more because they've written much deeper to them. And having a really like well-written program which you believe in, but then it doesn't kind of like align with the person maybe. So I think it's transition with time. So it started out with design, and early days I was like, oh, like, there was a programming mixed model course that was there, and there was a programming movement course that was there with Coach Whitney Rees, and I kind of went through all of them early days essentially. And I was like, oh, I'm going to use this assessment, I'm going to use this assessment, I'm going to use this FME and this and that. We're going to program using these KPIs, and these are the mixed model concepts I'm going to try and apply. Eventually, like few years into it, I was like, none of this matters. And you strip it down, and it's just about where is this person in their life right now? What do they believe in? And can I make them believe in this version of fitness that we're trying to create together? Uh, because I think with time I realized that the person doesn't need to know that I know things about fitness, essentially. They just need to believe that we can together, and that changed. So that's a thing for like a lot of coaches. If someone asks me, "Oh, your client will probably not care so much about," maybe some will. So don't get me like wrong. There are people who are like specialists in 1%ers, like people who are competing at the 1% level essentially, and elite sports, and it matters. But for most of them, they might not care so much about how much you know about fitness. They do care a lot about, oh, do you understand my life? Are you listening to them? Uh, are you communicating with them? Is there a deep and honest relationship that they trust you, and that they can come to you with challenges in their lives that you can actually draw fitness that fits their life at that point in time? And so I think it's changed with time. So it's changing, and I'm sure it will change again. It's kind of like it's a bell curve. Uh, yeah, yeah. So it's interesting.
I know, obviously, as an OPEX coach, we all understand the importance of the A, B's, and C's, but also equally express that the relationship is where the coaching is.
Yeah.
What does it mean to like build a strong client relationship, coach client relationship? What does that look like? Like, how do you do it?
Yeah. Uh, I could talk about my own personal experiences, and I think a lot of amazing OPEX coaches out there, or just coaches, fitness coaches, like fitness is a community. They have their own way of doing it, but for me personally, what has worked best is trying to understand the life deeper and just listen, essentially. And the trust, the trust part of it, which is uh, they can come to me and I can support them, but not support them to the extent where I kind of take away their capability or autonomy or desire to do things by themselves, uh, but to help them out. So ask questions, come with challenges, go back, maybe push them sometimes, maybe sometimes make it easier for them. But that's pretty much it. But I think a big part of the relationship, like building a deep relationship, is communication, and that holds true for any relationship. I think it could be like I think it's like it could be your partner in life, like your romantic relationship, maybe with friends, family, peers, whatever it is. But that communication part of it, maybe it forges like a deeper bond. They feel that they can trust you. Uh, then the idea of communicating the truth to them, helping them understand the cause and effect of why they're doing something. I think intentions matter, and connecting it to their life, because when they're connected to what we're building together, there's a higher chance of them adhering to it. And when they adhere to it, amazing things happen for them. So the trust becomes deeper, the bond becomes deeper. Uh, and that's what I said. Like those are the moments where I feel like a third person, like between year 1 and year 5, you're like, oh, like all this happened, I have this relationship with them. For me personally, I feel a big part of it is also sharing a part of my own journey, like anecdotal, so that there can be some relatability. It doesn't have to be. I don't think no two human beings are going to have the same lived experiences. They shouldn't. That's what makes us different. But there's still points of interest that we might explore together, and that's going to be the kind of people that will most likely be in our practices if in my practice who end up staying with me. I think there's there's an affinity. Maybe there's like a set of values. We can call it different things. You can call it like a brand, you know, essentially at the core of it. You see that, oh, this person stands for certain things that make me want to work with him or her. And till the time that affinity stays and hopefully that relationship gets stronger, uh, the trust increases. And sometimes, very few times, if it doesn't work out, it's best to say that, hey, this is probably not the best way to go forward, and maybe you're better off uh, being somewhere else. And that's pretty much it, though. I think the truth,
Do you find that
honesty.
when clients first come into the process with you, that ability or expectation to communicate outside of just logging workouts and logging
Yeah,
compliance, is that something that is there kind of from the beginning, or is that something you have to set as an expectation of, yes, you're going to have some prescriptions in your app that you need to check the box on, but this is the kind of feedback I want from you. And if something does or does not happen, I want you to give me a little bit more information as to why, so that I understand and can help you with the next time this comes up. That level setting, is that something that you have to kind of nurture to develop the expectations of the relationship, or does
yeah.
that sort of
I think
happen
it helps.
organically?
It helps. It helps giving them a picture of it very early on. So when I'm onboarding them, it's a very important part of the process. And one of the things I like to do when I'm onboarding someone is to actually run them through a sample week of what going through that training would look like. Now, maybe it could be like a dummy profile where someone's put in inputs, maybe a video, and help them. And maybe I like to put like on the CoachRx app, it's so detailed, just kind of gets into our brain essentially, and we can kind of think it through. I like to put like an inputs or a references section where I go into the qualitative elements of things also. So how they feeling that day, how's the session? Was it monotonous? Because if you're building a cycle on maybe linear progression, maybe you're using some repetition of movements and building either through volume or intensity, depending on what phase of your training you might be. And are they aligned on that front? So I think like the expectation is very clear that if you want me to listen to you, which I want to do, like I'm here to listen to you, you have to talk to me. And one of the best ways to talk to me is through your design, through your inputs, And then the additional things are like, okay, uh, drop it on chat. And I know different coaches have their own standards and practices for these things, which is also fine. Uh, my clients maybe like in just culturally over here, they'll always have access to me on my personal number as well. So they might drop me a text directly on phone. Sometimes training schedules, they might drop it on CoachRx, those kind of things. But they do have access to me, so I keep it an open thing. And I've let them know, like I've set a timeline on it that give me about 16 to 24 hours to get to you. And in case I'm traveling, I message them that hey, I'll be traveling, so it's going to take me a little longer. Uh, but those are expectations essentially to set. And the more honest I feel, uh, the more honest and upfront you are about it early on, the smoother it's going to be. So a couple of things that worked really well. It could be Loom recordings that someone might be setting up. I feel it can feel a little bit more automated sometimes going through Loom recording, but it's a good templatized way to do it, especially if you're working with a large scale of people. Like if you have 50 or 100 clients, you're not going to be able to maybe send or take each one through a journey real time. Uh, but I personally prefer taking them through like the journey real time and saying that, hey, this is what I'd be expecting, and this is the degree of it. And then uh, uh, I'd expect them to put their inputs. And if they're not putting it, next time that comes up in a consult, uh, and they have something to say about it, we kind of link it essentially, and we talk about it. Hey, like to do this thing better that you want for me, you have to give me the opportunity to show you that I can do better, maybe. And the best way to do that is by sharing this thing. Like this part of your life is very important. And yeah, like that's one of the ways that keeps both of us honest, uh, what it means.
I
And
love
it could
that.
be a simple message or a one-liner, but yeah, it's important. So there's two-way communication around that.
Do you implement pretty standardized monthly consultations, or is your consultation
No, it's
cadence
it's
more or less
different.
frequent?
Yeah, it's different. I have different models in my business based on varying degrees of autonomy. I have people who check in once a week as well. I have people who check in 2 times a month, and then I have people who check in once in a month. And it depends on how old and independent they've gotten into the system, their their want, and the touch points they're probably comfortable at that point of time. And third is also like financial comfort, basically, and what they're able to afford. So it kind of differs from person to person.
I love that. And I know you mentioned 5 years you threw out as an example. What is your longest standing client relationship that you have so far to date?
Like CCP wise, 2020 onwards till now, yeah, and going strong essentially.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I've had, yeah, uh, I I don't know what to say. Like I said, this is one of those moments where you kind of think back and be like, oh wow, like it's been 5 years, 6 years, and those individuals, there are like maybe a few of them. There is a few of them. I've seen them kind of go through like phases of life. Uh, so I think like I've learned like just seeing them, and we've both essentially gone through different phases of life together. Just seeing them experience it, I've learned a lot about their life, and I've just learned a lot about like life experiences and their lived experiences and kind of what they've gone through. And yeah, like I said, it feels uh, like an out of body experience sometimes that you've experienced this. And sometimes it
Is
feels like,
there
oh,
a
like we
lesson
just
that's
started
like top
yesterday.
of mind? Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Is there a
No,
lesson
that's
that's
about it.
top of mind for you that something that a client interaction or from a client that you've taken away and learned and like applied to your life, almost like you were getting coaching out of the experience?
Yeah, that happens. In some ways or the others, I always say that, fitness coaching, fitness principles essentially, that I can teach you better. Uh, But like life, they're probably teaching me about a lot of things, because everybody's going through different set of experiences. Uh, yeah, some of it about agility, essentially, and not being too stuck in life. So, accepting the ebbs and flows of life. That's one part of it. Uh, the other things I've seen and learned kind of things are knowing when to step back, what needs more attention, and kind of being present in life to different things, because there are different opportunities and different priorities, and then you get to decide, okay, which one do I pay more attention to now? And I think like with these people, I've kind of experienced some of those things because I've been with them and they've been with me, touch wood, for this point of time. Uh, yeah, like I've seen them experience different things. So that's taught me things that, hey, because no one's gonna do fitness in the same way for the entirety of like life or time. And that teaches me about like fitness principles. You can argue that periodization will look very different for these people. But it also teaches about like life in general, that there are going to be different times in your life where there are going to be different opportunities and circumstances, and you're going to decide what's higher on your plate. Is it, are you choosing to grow your business, or are you choosing to prioritize, uh, you know, your fitness? Are you choosing to prioritize your fitness, or does your personal relationship with someone need more attention and time? And those are different things. And that's been an interesting, yeah, like I said, I learned more from them. And they probably learned a few things about fitness, but yeah, I learned those things from them. I get to
I
see.
love that.
Yeah.
Um, I one of my favorite things to know from you guys is what is the best OPEX framework or James-ism, James line of thinking that has stuck with you the most from your CCP experience or had the most impact on your coaching journey?
Yeah. I think the philosophy, essentially, teach, learn, move, create, when I think about it. And I don't think any other philosophy like that. The concept of autonomy, yes, like James is, uh, he's sharpened it for me. Like I said, I think he just sharpened it with time and just listening to him. And that's what kind of made me gravitate towards who he is as a person also. Because I was like, oh, like I see this, I hear you, what this means. But the concept of the idea of teach, learn, move, create, which is something that OPEX has always really stood for, is it's a philosophy, whether you call it a mantra or uh, a principle. I don't know what you'd call it, but as a fitness professional or just as a student in life, like it's something amazing, and that stuck with me the most, because big part of essentially teaching others is learning yourself, and a big part of learning yourself is maybe overcoming physical challenges, which is what I was saying. The whole idea of fitness is to kind of immerse yourself in things that you can do, and that helps you learn things about yourself. And then maybe creating something which kind of, if you're a curious person or if you're a creative person, it's a form of self-expression. And then you apply it. And then you kind of do it again and again and again, and that's refinement. So yeah, teach, learn, move, create. I think it's one of the strongest things OPEX has taught me. It's kind of like I would kind of put it on it. Yeah.
The
I'd
journey to
probably paint it on a
mastery that
wall.
we will never quite
Yeah.
achieve, but we will always teach, learn,
Yeah.
move, create our way toward it.
Yeah. 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 That's pretty much it.
No,
Uh,
I love that
that
so
one that
much.
one stands out for me. Yeah, for sure.
What are you most excited about right now in your coaching practice? What's the thing that you're either working on to improve or it's having a lot of success or something you want to invest in more?
Yeah, I've been thinking about it. Like, that's a very good question. I attended the call with you the other day. That was a really, really informative session. Uh, I think I'm able to do fewer these days now, just in terms of like workload, etc. But I remember once upon a time, like I've attended every OPEX call that's been there as much as possible. But yeah, one of the things that's stayed with me of late, I've been thinking about is the idea of uh, sharing knowledge more with other people. Now, be it with the members of my community in the form of like other professional coaches, other fitness coaches, or be it with my clientele, people who've been uh, users and subscribers of my fitness service. But yeah, now whether that's going to be in the form of a podcast, education modules, that's what's been on my mind. So I'm kind of like just sitting with it and internalizing that and figuring out, okay, like how do I want to go about that next? But that one's like pretty high up on my radar.
Love
Uh,
that.
it's
It's
yeah,
so
it's time to
impactful.
create.
You guys all have so much to share and so much wisdom. And I just think about the next generation of coaches coming up, and some of them will never have the experiences that you guys have had because them entering fitness is just so different now, and entering their careers in a remote setting versus an in-person setting.
Yeah, sure.
So the amount of wisdom that can be passed down is tremendous. So I'm excited for that.
I think it's going
Speaking
to be
of,
different though. Yeah,
oh yeah, speaking of young
yeah,
coaches coming in into the
yeah.
industry, is there a piece of advice that you would offer or share with that group of people?
It's one to answer. Because I don't know if it's going to be relevant. Uh, but I think when I look back, a lot of the things that felt very, very uncomfortable at the times that they did, like was it if it was the big move or if it was doing the big thing that felt like, oh, like it's a little bit beyond me. Uh, or maybe taking a job that felt like, oh, this is a little uncomfortable. It's out of my comfort zone, you know. Maybe you have to move cities, maybe you have to work in a place that you don't know. It's probably a good idea to do that thing that, get over your fear of it and do that thing because uh, uh, if you don't do it, you might have regrets and you think about, okay, what what was there? You know, what was behind that door? And if you do it, only one of the two things will happen. You'll either know or you'll know and your life will be a lot better. So that's one thing. That's like a strong one. The other thing, uh, I think like getting past your imposter syndrome as a professional, I think you have to kind of sit with it because you have to let it drive you to learn more, maybe seek life experiences, fitness experiences, uh, those kind of things, you know, when you think about, oh, do I know enough? Uh, but at the same time, the only way to get past it is by doing more, essentially. And this is a question I asked on it wasn't the AMAs, but, you know, we used to have the OPEX blog during the CCP where
Yeah, I
James
think
and
AMA.
Carl would keep, yeah, yeah, they used to keep typing out. And I remember like I had a lot of questions, you know, hey, what would this do and what would that do? I think like in my early days, like I used to send like a bunch of messages there asking down the blog, hey, this design, you know, for this night, what do you want to do? All the questions I asked, I think by doing them, by applying them, I kind of found answers different and I built my own thought processes around how would I approach that thing. Uh, yeah, so I think like do the thing. That's it's so simple, right? But it's one of the most powerful things that I've experienced in the practice of coaching or any profession. Because no matter what you do, no amount of education can actually teach you what's going to happen in real life. Uh, like there are principles, which is what OPEX it kind of equips us with a lot of principles, but how do you apply it? You're only going to apply it on a real human being and find out what's on the other side. Until then, you don't really know. So yeah, I think that was a strong realization, powerful one for me.
I love that. Well,
Yeah.
I do want to be respectful of your time because I know it is
Yeah.
time for you to get some shut eye, but I
Likewise for you.
appreciate you so much. I thank you for joining me and having this conversation. And I also want to just thank you for being such a strong representation of OPEX values, CoachRx values, and being a professional in the industry that really not everyone not everyone treats it as a profession. And
Yeah.
you can
So
spot those who do. And I just appreciate you for being someone who stands out.
thank you so much. And thank you guys, constantly like just doing better. And I think that's the beauty of it when you see things, like I said, just whether be it like coaching journeys or whatever, when you see things go through like a long timeline and from the big dogs blog essentially and the OPT blog and then to where OPEX is right now today, the work that you guys are doing, and then how the 2020 CCP was for me, uh, to what CCP is right now, tools that you guys are giving, what CoachRx is. I never thought, but I think back then we had Fitbod and True Coach and CoachRx is just, so just amazing things, and then things like LearnRx. So I feel it kind of, you're always trying to do better, which is what kind of gravitates me to wanting to be a part of the OPEX community in whatever way I can be, because
Likewise.
there's always more to do. So thank you for that. And yeah, thank you for always supporting us. And thank you for just always trying to put your best foot forward and trying to help us out. Yeah.